Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody from wherever you're tuning in. We have a very, very exciting show today. I know yesterday we had some internet issues, so David wasn't able to join us, but today we have an action-packed stream today. I'm really, really excited. I've admired David's work for a while. I think it's super cool. So I know you guys, if you're not familiar with it, you'll learn really quickly about who he is and what he's up to. And you're going to learn some of the tips and tricks from the man himself. So I am super, super, super pumped for today. So wherever you guys are tuning in from all over the world, let us know in chat. We'd love to hear from you. Throughout this whole process, if you have questions for David or myself, we'll be reading them, interacting with it. If you're watching on YouTube or anywhere else, come on over to Behance. You can come at be.net/Adobe Live and you can hang out with us in chat and we'll read everything. We'll hang out with you. It's gonna be a great time. With that being said, hello, David. Welcome. I'm super excited.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me. This is such a cool opportunity, and I'm just so excited to share like some tips, tricks, and yeah, that stuff.
I'm super excited. So, for people who are not as familiar with your work, do you mind just kind of showing kind of your website and kind of some of the cool things that you've been up to?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is David Alabo. I call myself an Afrofuturist, which is like I sort of I recontextualize the Black experience, or sort of being a Black person, and create these sort of utopias or envision people in these alternate realities. So I'm a big like sci-fi guy. I like all that kind of jazz. So this is a little bit of a preview of some of my work. I do illustration, I do 3D, I do collage work. I've been lucky enough to work with some pretty cool agencies, companies. I did something for Lovecraft Country, which was an Afrofuturistic show actually. So we did something in virtual reality for them. And I also did some work for Daily Paper, which is also another African sort of forward-thinking fashion brand also. And I've also done some work for Allure and Wired magazine. And so I've been lucky enough to sort of have a career that sort of makes me work with all these big agencies, but I also love to work with local Ghanaian brands. I'm from Ghana. Shout out my Ghanaians. Just a little bit of work I wanted to show you. I think you would enjoy it, Alex.
I love skateboards. So
yeah, I knew you loved skateboards. So I did this crowdfunding campaign for Surf Ghana Collective, nice, which is a skate and surf collective. And their goal is to create Freedom Park, which is like Ghana's first skate park. So I created this kind of limited edition skateboard deck, which I don't have yet, but it's on its way. So I love to work with international and local brands, but I have a very distinct vision, and hopefully on this stream, you're gonna get a little bit of a taste of that.
Yeah, I'm super excited. But first question is, can I get one of those skateboards? Where do I go to purchase one? Or is it already too late? Did I miss the boat?
I'll see what I can do for you, bro.
Okay. I want to buy one of them. They're so cool.
I got you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anybody who can do skateboard graphics for me is a huge win. But your art style like literally looks so good on posters, t-shirts, just Instagram stories. You have kind of that really distinct style that I think is just incredible, and it just works on everything. So I love that you can blend the realm between a marketing or a editorial design with something that's like more just purely art as well. So you have the ability to kind of bridge communication and art really nicely.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I think I like to push myself to sort of gather skills and learn new things. And I'm sure everyone here is also keen on learning new things. And I think that's like kind of what sets us apart as like creatives, is like we always have that kind of hunger to learn new things.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wade said, you had me at sci-fi and skateboards, heart emoji, eye face. So yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Wade. Appreciate it.
So let's get to know what we're going to be working on today. What is your vision for what we can accomplish in this condensed one-day stream?
Okay, so we're short of time, so I'm going to make this as quick as possible. What we're going to do is sort of like a poster surreal sci-fi landscape. And I'm just going to sort of explain how anybody can sort of recreate their vision with Photoshop. And I'm going to set myself a little bit of a challenge today in that I'm going to do this entirely using Adobe stock.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, I mean, this should just be sort of a motivation that you can really do it with all the amazing images, videos that the wonderful people at Adobe were kind enough to give me for today.
Yeah.
So
no, we're big fans of Adobe stock. Yesterday, while you were out, we were doing all the free Adobe stock assets. So chat, if you haven't used Adobe stock yet, you can play along while David's working on this, but go to the free section of it. There's tons of great assets. You can search and find a bunch of really cool things. Project. So highly recommend.
Exactly. So I'm just going to kick off by opening Photoshop, and I just go right to this art and illustration tab up here. I click that and I see poster here. That's good enough for me right now. I'm going to turn down the resolution to 150 just because 300 is ideally what you want, but it's quite big. Exactly. Like just for today, we're going to set that to 150. Okay. So now that we're here, I'm just going to double click this layer here and just name that background or blank. And so now I'm gonna go to some of the stock images that I downloaded. I have them over here. But actually before that, I wanna sort of talk about something that I like to work with colors. Colors are kind of my thing. So before I go in, I sort of pick a color palette that I feel like is my vibe for today, basically. So I'm feeling this kind of yellow, red, purplish, and a little bit of blue in there. So that's kind of like a little bit of a foundation to start with.
That's awesome. And where did you get this color palette from? Like, how do you typically go about finding that mood for today?
So basically what I do is, again, I go on Adobe, I think color.adobe.com, and there's just like so many amazing tools to so what I did was I went to explore and I just picked out a color palette that I kind of was digging at the time. So you get a bunch here. And what's really also cool is that you can input a picture and it's going to give you a palette. So I think I just went here, extract theme, and I put in like one of my older artworks or something that I like the vibe of, and then it gives me all the colors straight away.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I already did that, but that's kind of how you're going to go about it. So what I'm also going to open up is Adobe stock, just to show you sort of how I sort of went about picking these. I have them all in my library already, but
I love it. Chat is already going crazy for your color palette. Everybody's saying, oh, I love those colors, that color palette dough. So everybody's going
awesome,
crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, like honestly, like it's people have different ways of starting. I have sort of a special relationship with color, so I can almost get an idea from a palette, which is really cool. Awesome. So what I have here is just a couple of pictures I went about finding on Adobe stock, just to give me a vibe. So I was already thinking deserts. If you know my work, I love deserts.
Yep.
So one thing about me you might not know is that I'm half Ghanaian and half Moroccan. So my mother is Moroccan, but I basically grew up in Ghana. But I've always had that love for the Sahara, the desert, that kind of culture is really still strong in me. Yeah. And I'm actually planning on going to Morocco soon, which is pretty dope. Awesome. So what I did was I found this amazing dunescape right here, or this desert, and I immediately I licensed it. You know, I was like, this is a great starting point.
Yeah.
So I have that already here. I'm gonna go to Photoshop and I'm just going to put my stock images over here. I already neatly labeled them, guys. Labeling is very important, especially for someone kind of unorganized. Like, I make sure when I'm in Photoshop, like I'm on my stuff. So I just quickly dragged this into Photoshop here, and already I'm seeing in my poster sort of frame that this is a bit too small. So what I'm going to do is just hold Alt and sort of drag this out. And I'm not too worried about these going out of the frame. That's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm liking this little curve that's going on over here in this middle part. So what I'm going to do is just put this here and hit enter. So that's going to lock it in for me. But now I want to get rid of this sky, you know, so I'm just going to quickly hit W, which is my quick select tool. Also knowing your shortcuts are very important, as you may know.
Yes.
So I'm just going to, yeah.
It saves a lot of time.
I'm just going to click this desert, and it does this amazing job of already just selecting it for me. And I'm going to hit this right at the top here. Okay, I can't see it, but right at the top here, I'm going to hit select and mask. Just to give me an idea of exactly what I'm going to be doing here. Yeah, so we have this, and already I can tell, like, you know, some of these creases are just not working for me right now. So what I'm going to do is go down to my, I normally just ignore, I know this is important, this edge detection, but I just ignore it. I go straight for like a bit of feathering just to kind of brush it out. I hit the smooth, just a rough idea, you know, you don't really need any specific numbers. And this is the magic right here, this contrast. It's gonna give me that bit of that hard edge that I'm looking for. It's taking a little bit to load, but okay, yeah. So already I think this is way better. And then the final step is I hit the shift edge, which is kind of like taking the boundaries of the selection, and then I'm reducing it. So it's gonna actually take more away from it.
Yeah.
And if I do that enough, hopefully, some of these little ridges and stuff, it's good. It's actually natural for me. So I don't want it too clean. So I'm just gonna hit OK. And you're gonna like, where did everything go? It's all just selected. And I'm gonna hit my mask button over here. And then boom, I have this. So already this doesn't seem like a lot, but this is a good starting point for anything.
That's a great starting point.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm not feeling this white screen. So what I'm gonna do is just create another panel, go to my gradient, you know, and what's amazing about this gradient is that Adobe has all of these wonderful color palettes already there for you. So I'm just gonna go out, skies are blue, but you know, blue is a little bit expected. When I go all the way down, I see iridescent. That's already a vibe for me, because that's kind of like reflections and all that stuff coming from my 3D background. I love this stuff. I'm just gonna pick this one over here, or let's see. Yeah, this one's fine. And so the gradient tool is kind of a really cool tool, because depending on where you're clicking, that's where the colors are gonna sort of start from. So boom, already this is feeling nice. And the longer I sort of pull it down, the further this gradient goes, you know? So I'm liking this already, just for a starting point. And we're doing surreal, you know, guys, we're doing surrealism. So you gotta take yourself a little bit out of reality. And what I'm gonna do is just go to my effects and hit color overlay over this desert one. And it's gonna give me a bunch of settings. Not sure which one I want right now. Okay, darken seems pretty good. Okay, so I've picked yellow already. That's kind of already what it was, but I'm feeling more blue. Let's say blue. Maybe a little bit lighter. And okay, this is all coming a little bit funny, but I think that's because of my blending mode. just gonna go to color. Wow, wonderful. So when I hit the color blending mode, already I'm getting those kind of nice blues I want. So already we're getting a bit of a nice starting point for this piece. And from now, what I'm gonna do, because I kind of did most of the job already with selecting the mask on this desert, I'm just gonna hit Command J or hold Alt and duplicate this. So now I have another desert. And what I like doing with kind of stock images is just, you know, you want to make it your own. So I'm just gonna hold the Alt and hit this transform and flip it. Okay,
Oh.
I'm gonna flip it just because I'm not really, I don't want to be too, okay, flip the outside down. It's not what we want. Let's go back. Another nice tool I like to do is just go to edit, transform, and flip horizontal. That one works, you know, if nothing else is working, that's gonna work. So what we have here is just another copy of this desert. I'm just gonna scale it up a little bit and bring it down to the foreground, right about, let's say, yeah. And it doesn't seem like a lot now, but as we're working, you're gonna realize that it's all adding to the piece. And then, so now I'm like, I don't want two blue deserts. I want something a little different. So I'm just gonna, because I've done most of the work with my first desert, it's simple now. We're gonna keep things nice and simple. I'm gonna make it, what do you guys think? Purple, yeah, purple is the vibe.
If you have any colors that you want to see in there, chat, let us know. We'll see if we can
Definitely
incorporate
let us know. Okay, boom, I'm liking this. So this is already kind of a nice vibe. And if I'm still a bit like, yeah, this is a duplicate, I can just hold Command while hitting this and, you know, kind of just twist it around a little bit, you know? I think
just try to get the perspectives to line up a little bit.
Exactly. Like lining up perspectives for me, it's not the prettiest job, but it's necessary, you know?
Well, like, especially with your artwork, you know, it's okay to not have it be perfect because it kind of adds to the look and feel. Like if it was too photorealistic, then like it's not going to be super surrealistic. So exactly. I think you have plenty of room to play with it, which is nice.
Fully. Exactly. Like we're going for a quick kind of rough vibe. We try to get the main picture down. And like I said, guys, naming your layers is very important. Desert blue, desert perp. Let me spell that wrong. And for the fine, I'm gonna do one more desert, guys, okay? Just till we're done with this desert thing, I'm gonna hit Alt, copy it again. And this time I'm gonna remove this mask, because I wanna see the whole thing now. Okay, wait, hold on. This is the one I kind of modified a little bit, so I'm gonna copy the blue one. Oops. And I'm gonna make this one just a little bit darker than the other blue. And so this is behind it, but I'm gonna move it behind this blue one. Okay, I'm not really feeling this, so I'm just gonna leave what I did before. And it's okay, guys. We make, you know, nothing is ever stuck to the plan, you know. You have to be sort of open for things to change, you know. So absolutely. I'm gonna bring in my next element, which is, let's see. I'm feeling this cool checkerboard thing that I picked up from the stock.
Oh, that's cool.
So what I'm gonna use that for is kind of like a stage, you know. When you're thinking about these pieces, you really try to envision yourself as the person watching this, or as the main character, you know. So I'm just gonna line this up right around here. And so this white border thing, I mean, this white background, we're gonna have to remove it. So quick way to remove things that are just kind of like straight edged, I'll just use the pen tool. Just gonna hit each sort of section there. And just to make sure we have the perfect. I know there's probably quicker ways to do everything, but this is the way I know it.
No, you're good. Yeah, the pen tool used to be how I used to mask out everything, and it got so tedious. But for something like this, it's super easy with just 4 points really quick.
And I'm just gonna hit this mask over here, or sometimes selection, depends on which. Mask should be fine, and boom, look at what we have here.
Nice.
So already, like, we have kind of another element that I like is kind of checkboard pieces, just because they're, you know, they give off that surreal vibe, but also they speak a lot to sort of being in a game or being sort of in a challenge or something like that. So then I have this masked out. I'm just going to hold Alt and scale it a bit, just so it fits a bit more. Yeah, and already now we have a nice sort of levels to this art piece. You know, you're looking from the top down. We haven't touched anything up here, but we're just focused on what's down here. And don't forget, guys, I'm still sort of keeping to that palette that we have. You know, we got a little bit of purple here, that blue. We have the sky a little bit red, but now I'm missing my standout pieces, you know, sort of my strong contrasting colors. So I'm gonna go back to the stock, and now we need a main character. You know, we need somebody the audience can put themselves in. So I got some really cool pictures of Maasai warriors from Kenya. I absolutely love, like, you know, sort of the Maasai culture and all that. But before that, I picked this guy over here, sort of looking like he's a bit down or whatever, but I like his hands on his hips and his, you know, sort of the broad back. So already when I see this, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be the perspective. So we're gonna have a guy sort of standing here with his back turned to us. And I think that's cool because we're looking from behind, from his perspective. So I'm just gonna sort of fit him into this for now. And another amazing quick way to get rid of this background, I'll show you, is just when you hit this, sorry, I'm just trying to see this, boom, this select subject. It does all the work for me. I mean, it's gonna see what happens when I click that. Let's see, it's taking a little time. Boom, we have that here. So already it's done most of the hard work of just selecting this guy. And after I hit select subject, I'm gonna hit select and mask just so I can really fine print the edges and stuff like that. Okay, so we have that. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. It's pretty clean. It's really clean. I mean, it even got the details on his hair, which is amazing. Like, we won't be needing his head today, unfortunately, but this is already good enough for me. I mean, if we want to sort of take it further later, that's fine. But what we want to do right now is just get all the concepts sort of quickly laid down. And I hit my mask button to get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is just quickly take off his head here. I'm sorry, my man.
Now he's really gonna be down.
Yeah, right. And I'm not looking for anything perfect, guys. My pen skills are not the greatest, but we're just looking for a rough and cut right here, okay? So sadly, my man has to go, but it's for a good cause. And I'm just gonna hit selection, feather radius, anti-alias checked. That's fine with me, okay. Don't forget, guys, I'm working in the mask of the guy. You know, I'm not working on his actual image. I'm gonna hit G, which is my paint bucket or gradient. Make sure that's selected. And I'm gonna make sure it's on the color black so I can quickly, boom. Sometimes it leaves a bit of edge. You can just use a brush and sort of quickly do that. And now, boom, I have that. So what I'm thinking with this main piece here is I don't want this white color. I want one of the main palette colors that we had, just so that we can have a bit of a visual contrast, you know. What I'm gonna do is just hit color overlay again. We're here at color, and let's see, I'm going to pick yellow, something nice and golden. How do I make
Mercutio also said, I also apologize to my photos when I cut them up.
You know, you gotta pay respect to
Exactly.
the original pictures. Okay, guys, it's important. Um, okay, so this color isn't exactly my vibe right now, but we're gonna go through a couple of blending modes. Darken's okay. Okay, this multiply is good. Color burn, darker color. Okay, let's go. Let's jump to these. Ooh, okay, this is nice. This is very kind of that kind of popish feel I want for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit okay. And now I still want my man's arms in there, you know. But I don't wanna mess about with any of the other coloring like that. I'm just really liking this color right now. So what I'm gonna do is go to the color overlay effect I just laid on. I'm gonna right click and hit create layer. So what that's gonna do is form a layer out of that effect, you know, because before you couldn't really work on it, but now I can work on it and it's amazing. And what I can do is I can put another mask. Guys, we're getting pretty deep into
it's Inception now.
The
mask on mask.
The mask on mask, but trust me, just stick with me. We're gonna make it work. And now, boom. So we have this mask here. That means that the whole point of masks and all what I'm doing is so that I don't work like destructively. Yep. Because the thing about collage is that you don't want to be, like I said, too stuck into something. You want to always be open to switching things around. So with my brush selected, I have it on the color black. See, as I hit that already, it's removing that color fill I already did before. So what I want to do is just quickly brush out my man's arms over here. We're not gonna do something too perfect right now. Like I said, we just want to get the concept down. Probably use a smaller brush and just sort of quickly get this. Okay, we're gonna fix this later once everything is set. But like you're painting on a canvas, you know, you don't want to get too caught up in the details too quickly. You just want the vibe set already. Okay, great. So now I have his arms. I wanted the black skin, you know, I really like that. I wanted that to stay, but I wanted his shirt like a very bright yellow. So I have that now, but now we just have a floating body. It's surreal, but you know, it's a bit too surreal for me right now. What I'm gonna do is go back to my stocks, and you know, I have these two amazing images here. One is of, you know, sort of a guy chilling by the ocean with his spear. You don't want to mess with this guy. And this guy's sort of on his journey here. I'm gonna pick this guy over here just because he has more information here for me. And I'm just gonna drop that in. And before I even hit enter, I'm just going to sort of roughly guess where that bottom half is gonna be. And boom, I have that here. Let's not worry too much about it. I'm gonna hit enter to lock it in. And the opacity thing is your friend. So I'm just gonna lower it a little bit where I can see him, so I can line up his hips with it. Yeah, now we're getting, even you could sort of use his whole body as sort of a way to fit him in. If his head was kind of there, but not exactly. Just a little bit bigger.
Anika asks, can you tell us a bit more about your journey? How did you get started? How did you develop your style?
Okay, so thank you for that question, Anika. Like, how I started my journey would be, I was always a bit of a creative person, you know. I wasn't, I was always someone who liked drawing in class, you know, sketching, you know, the typical thing, but I never thought that could be something I do for a living. So long story short, let's say cut to when I was 21 and I was in business school in New York. And I went to Baruch College, which is like a really good business school. And I graduated all right, everything was smooth, but I kind of had like a bit of a identity crisis because I was like, either go and do this Wall Street thing and make big bucks, or try to find something that you're truly passionate about. So my dad was like, what are you gonna do now? And And I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I want to make music, maybe I want to do this. And he was like, you're not serious. Like, I need you to be serious. So he's like, pack your things. You're going back to Ghana. So I packed my things. I came back to Ghana, with my business degree, not really wanting to use it. Even though I learned so many great things living in New York and going to business school, I just really didn't think this was for me. So I came back here just sort of like messing around a little bit, trying to find something new to do. And I found this art, I threw myself into this world of Photoshop and graphic design. And I started just doing these cool collages and stuff as sort of like a therapy, or sort of like a way to just deal with boredom and sort of all those kind of self-doubt, not really sure what you want to do. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. So I kind of was just getting more and more into it, like putting all my time in. And 4 years down the line, I'm not only doing Photoshop, I do like 3D work, I do illustration, I do stuff with virtual reality, like I said, for HBO. So I'm really not really tied down to any medium per se, but I always like learning things, exploring things. So that's kind of a short summary of how I got here. It's really just self-taught learning, many mistakes. But what I am appreciative about my journey is that I always was like, damn, I really wasted my time going to business school. But that was actually the opposite. Like going to business school and sort of putting myself with people who really knew how to market themselves, knew how to sort of brand themselves, and really helped me along my way, and also taught me how to be a bit of an entrepreneur, how to make things happen, a bit of that hustle, So a bit of a winded journey to get here, and not your usual, but I'm just grateful to be here doing, waking up every day doing what I love. It's really, it's a blessing, and something I don't take for granted.
Yeah, that's a great story. And Bull Six says, that's crazy because I'm 21 and that's exactly the situation I'm in too. Wow. And Shauna says, this looks amazing or awesome. So everybody's loving your work, and your journey is awesome. Like,
I appreciate all of you.
I think the one thing that designers could use more training on is the business side of things. So I think you've got a jump start already, which is awesome.
Definitely. And it's like now I'm doing things vice versa. I'm learning things that I should have been learning in art school. But then, like you said, I have a bit of a head start, but it really shouldn't be demoralizing if you haven't gone a certain way, or what's considered the right way. If anything, doing things different is only gonna lend to the uniqueness of your story.
Yeah, exactly. Especially looking at your artwork is a great example of that, right? Like taking all those different experiences or images and throwing them all into one. It's like a really powerful metaphor for even your own career and your life. Wow, I made that way too meta, but
No. We're here for the meta, bro.
Okay, good.
Okay, so now I'm like, I love big cats. If you know me, that's my thing. I'm really into lions, panthers. Like I could spend all day on National Geographic just watching them.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, we don't need a man's head. We want a panther head. That sounds more surreal,
badass.
Yeah, it's kind of badass, right?
Yeah.
So I already just started messing around with this head here. If you saw me, I just did the same thing. Quick, select the subject. And now working with the fur is a little bit trickier, but obviously this guy cannot be looking this way. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I'm going to hit edit again, flip transform, and flip horizontal. Where did he go? Okay, no worries, he's right here. And so because when you looked at the first guy, let me show you. And this is again the beauty of working non-destructively. You can see a bit of where his head was. So I'm gonna match that a little bit with the panther. And what I wanna do is just line his his neck, right, with the collar, with the sleeve, with his neck collar over here. That's gonna, I think, guide the eye a little bit more and make it a little bit more believable that this is a panther head. Okay, so with my brush tool on the mask, I'm just going to, this isn't probably the best way, but again, we don't want to get bogged down with too many details right now. Okay, this is too much.
Or Crucial is like, I'm here for more cats, which is awesome because yesterday we did a lot of cats.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, yo, I was with that. I mean, I couldn't make it to the stream, but when I watched it after, I was like, yo, you guys held it down. Like, you're stealing my ideas already.
I was trying to get as surreal as possible to try to, channel my inner David, but you're the expert here. I'm just playing around.
It was fun watching it.
I'm glad.
Okay, so just a rough, guys. We're not looking for anything perfect right now. Like I said, we're just getting the vibe set. And okay, look, already, boom. When you look back a bit,
it's looking good.
I'm just gonna enable this mask again, and boom. Maybe we can make his head a bit smaller, but I'm liking this already. So what I do is when I hit the panther, I hold Alt, which kind of like enlarges and reduces it within its same position. I'm not sure if that's what it does. Is it Shift? Alt Shift, but just to make his head a bit smaller, and then line it up more. And we're not looking, like I said, for perfect lines, just the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine tune it a little bit more so it doesn't.
Shauna says the business side is hard. My school basically told me don't freelance, and I did not listen. Shauna's a freelance illustrator. She's really talented as well. And
awesome, nice to meet you, Shauna.
Yeah.
So you're saying they told you not to freelance, and you ended up doing. Yeah, big ups. That's what I did, honestly. You have to start out freelancing, and just to sort of throw yourself into the world of design and that commercial side and presenting ideas to clients and all that stuff. You have to learn. You have to make mistakes. I've made mistakes down the line, but I'm always kind of like telling myself, okay, you made this mistake. Next time, that's not going to happen, or next time, it's not going to be like that. So, just learning. I feel like the business side is a little bit for you to learn. I mean, someone can teach you as much as they want. Don't do this, but it's really those painful lessons we learn. That's what really teaches us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So now I'm putting this planet here because we need a bit of visual information on the top. It's getting a bit too lonely up there. What I'm going to do is same thing we always do. We could hit W and just quickly do this. Boom. Photoshop does that for us already. Hit the mask, and we have a nice planet over here. So what I like about this planet is right now it's giving a bit of a background for this guy's head.
Yep.
And it's setting the scene a little bit. And so now I'm just going to take a view, because it's always nice to go back and sort of look at how things are happening from a wider perspective. Okay, so I'm thinking this red is a little too bright for me. I'm just going to, first of all, I'm thinking, okay, if you're looking at a planet in the background, surely it's going to be very far away from you, right? So when things are like a bit at that far away from you, you don't see as much. There's not as much detail as opposed to something right in front of you. So I'm just going to reduce the opacity just a little bit to give us that fade. And it's going to make it a bit more believable. Yeah.
And by doing that, you kind of color grade it by on accident, so that it feels like it's still part of the composition.
100%. Like you're saving yourself time later that you could be, And so now I'm just going to hit, I haven't touched this adjustment section here so far because I'm just gathering all my assets and stuff. I'm going to hit this saturation button over here and just play around and see what I like. Okay. So I'm liking this dark red a bit more than this orangey red. Go for something a little bit, like it's getting into that that palette that we like. And I always try to just mess around a little bit with the settings, even if you don't think you're gonna use it, you know? Never know what you're gonna find or how it's gonna affect the image itself. But this lightness section over here in this saturation control is also super cool. It can also add that fade effect that we were looking for. So I'm just gonna give it a bit more lightness, maybe not too much, and then compensate with a more saturation here. So you get that red, but it looks a bit more of a faded red. And okay, let's side back. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, this guy's back is yellow, and that's all nice and great, but we need a bit more visual information. So I'm gonna go and find our man sitting by the beach over here. I'm a Maasai man, bring him over here. And then it's important where you are when you import these, because sometimes it just takes you all the way down when you really want to just be up here.
Yeah.
So again, I'm going to reduce the opacity just so I can see a little bit inside through him. And I'm just going to line this man's back with our first man's back over here. And you're going to see in a second why I'm doing that. At the end of the day, we're aiming for visual interest, you know, maximum visual interest for our viewer, for the eyes of the person. So what I'm going to do is I've kind of lined their heads up a little bit. Their shoulders are a little bit lined up. And what I'm going to do is just, boom, okay. A little bit, okay. And I'm going to put the opacity back. Hit select subject's your favorite friend, guys, especially with these kind of things. It just does most of the work for you rather than tediously going to mask everything. It's not perfect, but we'll take it. Okay, we're just gonna load, wait for it to.
Ferry asked, does becoming an apprentice, is becoming an apprentice a good idea?
Becoming an apprentice. I don't have a mentor or a master per se, so I wouldn't know exactly the benefits, but it doesn't help to get information from people that have done it before you, you know, even if you don't listen to, okay, so it feels like there's a little too much information for select subject to do. So what I'm going to do is just use the W and just the quick select tool and just quickly take out his back here. And I like his little waist thing going on here. I think that's so cool as well. Yeah. And all these beads and this beautiful Maasai jewelry and fashion is just so fascinating to me. Someone from West Africa, I have a deep respect for East African culture as well. Shout out my East Africans on the stream. So I know, guys, I really want to use this spear and stuff, but let's just stick to his back for now. Make sure everything is sort of selected, and I'm going to hit mask. So, okay, this looks like a lot right now, but hang with me. We're going to get through it. And now I'm seeing, like, I want the beads of this guy on his back. So how am I going to get that done? Well, I don't need this arm here because we already have an arm here. I'm just going to quick select it, and holding Alt, that kind of like removes the selection. I'm just going to go along here and make sure it's taking in all this information here. That's good with me.
Rita says, this is so cool. So interested in how someone can learn all this on their own. I would assume it's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, honestly, YouTube's your friend. YouTube University. I'm still a student there, still learning. You can learn not only YouTube, but anywhere on the internet. Like, and I would advise not to pigeonhole on one tutorial. Try to get like 2-3 going. Try to see what steps are these guys doing that's common to all, you know, because sometimes, like what I'm doing right now, I'm telling you there's a better way to do this, but this is how everyone has their own style. Everyone is comfortable their way. So don't think that maybe what you're doing is necessarily wrong, but I would just say trial, error. And even the funniest thing about working like this is that you actually learn things that you didn't expect, or you find something new that you weren't even looking for, let's be honest. And because of that trial and experimenting, you've suddenly unlocked something like maybe nobody has done yet, or some, you know, and then that could take you down the rabbit hole into doing something completely different, you know. So a lot of the times I end up just completely going on a tangent to what I came for, but in a good way, you know.
Yeah,
it's already
absolutely.
like, so what I have now, you see, so now I added a bit more visual interest. I didn't just give him a flat yellow back. I wanted to give him a bit more of a skin, you know, so it kind of, you're melding the panther skin with our Maasai man skin, which I think is so cool. Just gonna go to the bottom here, remove all these harsh edges here. And even, you know, we haven't perfected it per se, but already it's looking like a real character or somebody living in a real world, you know, which I'm already loving, by the way. And he's got all this kind of gear, and he looks a bit like a nomad, you know, somebody who's traveling the desert. Again, back to my love for sort of the desert culture and nomad, is that like you do with what you have. You just sort of, you know, you make do, you know. Okay, so now I'm just gonna leave this for a second. I'll get back to it. What I'm gonna do later is sort of maybe color match his back with the color of the panther, and so that everything is sort of speaking well with each other. But I don't want to get too carried away. I want to make sure all my elements are on there. So what I want to do now, because you know what we have here is a lot of blank space on these edges here. So yeah. I want to do something about that. What I'm going to do is just, you know, palm trees, guys. I'm in West Africa, don't forget. We have so many palm trees. It's just a part of the visual language here, you know what I mean? It is what I would say a big part of like that tropical feeling is the trees here. Over here in Ghana, I don't know about you, Alex, but you got, I bet you got some palm trees over on your side too.
Yeah, I literally am living in Palm Springs. So
there we go.
I've got lots of palms around me.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, adding nature to your scenes is always a good thing. It always grounds it. Even though we're doing something surreal is kind of building on reality. That's kind of the very direct translation of surreal, is on top of reality. So you always want to make sure that it is a little bit grounded. So now I brought this image, right, from Adobe Stock. Unfortunately, it's just the JPEG. So all this transparent information is actually not transparent. But we can work our way around that. Don't worry, guys. So what I'm going to do here is I need to find a way to get just the green going. And
was that file originally an Illustrator file that they left the background in?
I believe so. So.
If you wanted to open an Illustrator, you can just remove it really easily.
All right. But let me just say, in case let's just pretend this wasn't an Illustrator and you were just stuck with these annoying, deceiving images that they look like they're transparent, but when you bring them, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, the worst.
Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. We're going to fix it. So what I'm going to do is just double click this image here, right? Or no, not double click it. Make sure it's just, okay. So it's a smart object now, but I'm just going to rasterize it, which means just kind of make it flat, or it's not the exact definition, but I'm just going to double click it now. And what's going to bring is this blending option, which I really think is cool. And if you're kind of strapped for time and you have this, what I like to do is just slide back this white button. And look, you see how you have all that transparent information suddenly going away. And boom, you have that. So if you're not lucky enough to have the Illustrator file, sometimes you can just sort of go about a quick, dirty way to get it done. And like, look, guys, it's not perfect. Yeah, maybe there's some edges, but this is pretty good.
That's really good.
So I'm just gonna hit OK. And what I'm gonna do now is take my lasso tool and pick out sort of the tree that I like in this image, which is this one right here. I'm just gonna do a rough lassoing over here. Okay, good. And what I'm gonna do is hit Command J, which is duplicating what I've selected, or Control J if you're on windows. And now when I go to the one before, I can remove that and I just have this. Perfect. And it's already in a lovely angle for me. What I'm gonna do is just put this right around here. And my thinking is just that, like, if you were standing a little bit more to the left, you would see the tree, but we can't see the trunk of the tree, right? So I'm just gonna put this, and in my mind, I'm thinking like this area here is where the tree is. So the palm trees are obviously tall, so they're gonna be taller than our character. And what it's doing is just filling that visual space there. And it's also, what's really cool about it is that it's leading your eyes towards our main character, whether subconsciously or not, you know? These curved lines are just leading back to our main Panther man over here. Black Panther should really hit me up for the
Exactly.
next one.
We're already making the poster for the next movie.
Exactly. Like, I'm still waiting on the call, Marvel. If you're on here, make it happen.
We'll tweet at them after this. Narush asked, have you ever been blocked by the imposter syndrome, and how did you tackle it?
Oh, that imposter syndrome. It is a pain, guys. And it's something that we all as creatives, I'm sure, Alex, you've dealt with that before. And
oh yeah,
it's, you know, in this age where we see so many artists all the time, so much new work, it can sometimes feel like, man, like, am I ever gonna be this good? Or am I ever gonna make work that is on this level? And I think that is just something you have to go, it's like a feeling. It comes, you have to accept that you're gonna feel imposter syndrome, or you're gonna feel like maybe your work, you're not deserving of maybe what you've achieved. But it's just kind of, I see it as like your brain trying to play games with you, you know, or trying to test you a little bit, you know, see if like you really like, you know, feel it in your heart that you deserve it. So I just like to accept the feelings, and they're not great, don't get me wrong. I just accept them and be like, this is natural, this is normal. After the 50th time of feeling it, you kind of like, okay, maybe a day will pass, go take some fresh air, go step outside, play with your dog or cat or whatever pet you have. And you're gonna come back the next day or next week, I don't know, however long, sometimes they take a while. And those feelings are not there anymore. Maybe you have a new thing you wanna or look up, or this new thing, you know. So I acknowledge the feelings, and I just sort of let them pass by, you know, and let them sort of go through me. And I find myself feeling much better than sort of beating myself down, like, oh, you know, why can't you do this or this? And sometimes I let it fuel my sort of the direction I'm going at. If I see like a really amazing 3D artist or something, I remember when I first started getting into 3D, I was like, I'm never gonna make anything this good. But then I was like, let me just try. Let me just start doing so. And then I started learning, started making bad things. And then like maybe a year of like struggling, and I was finally able to make something I was happy with. And just as we let those feelings sort of pass and acknowledge them, what I like to do is just be grateful as well for the little things. I know it sounds cliche, but like really taking time to be like, damn, I've come so far, or I've done this, I've done that. Like, that's also kind of the reversal of imposter. You know, you're battling your brain, you're teaching your brain that, listen, I deserve this, or I deserve what's coming from me, or stuff like that. So I just always try to stay positive with my inner voice, or the voice in my head, just because it's so powerful. You know, it's really, I think the root of all our creativity is that inner voice. So you got to treat it with kindness. You know, that's why I like to think about it.
And I think imposter syndrome comes in a lot of different forms, but I found that most of the time it's a sign that I'm doing something correct. Like, I'm sure with you getting like the Wired work or Lovecraft Country, like those are like moments where you can be like, I'm not good enough for this. Like, why are they coming to me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just me, you know, like I don't
Yeah,
deserve that
exactly.
work or that praise or whatever. But it means that something's going right. You're working really hard. You're getting those moments, and
Exactly.
being uncomfortable is a good thing if you can lean into it and use that as a driving force. So
Fully. I 100% agree with that. Like, um, sometimes it's good to feel nervous, you know,
yeah,
like when I was preparing for this stream today, I was, you know, my girlfriend was asking me like, are you nervous? And I was like, yeah, I'm nervous, but it's okay. Like, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not nervous. And I'm lying to myself.
yeah,
But I was just like, yeah, I am, but it's going to be great, you know, and she's very supportive as well. So it helps to have people around you as well that understand you and also lift you up when you're down, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just going back to my desert, and I realized I just needed a bit more visual interest with my desert. So sticking to that same palette that I had before, so I'm gonna go with a darker purple. Let's see. Make sure my blending mode is set to color. That's what we did before. And just make sure it's a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this desert darker back to the bottom. I haven't renamed my, I'm being a hypocrite right now. I haven't renamed my layers, but I'm gonna do that right away. Okay, good, perfect.
Nice.
So what's this doing for me is, I know we have his tail sticking around here, but don't worry, I'm gonna fix that right away. And there's a reason I left that there. So now we're just sort of laying a bit more depth to the piece right now. Desert darker. Okay, let me just go back and make sure everything is named. Palm. I'll say right. And then the other one, this is palm left. This is tedious, but guys, trust me, if we had time to animate this and take it to another program, trust me, you'll want everything nice and seamless.
That's absolutely correct.
So palm, I'll put palm right top. It's giving me a bit more of a difference. And okay, so now I'm gonna go to the panther. And you can't see out here, but I'm just gonna take his tail using the lasso tool. I don't know where it is, but okay. It looks like I need to.
You might have to duplicate it again.
I'm gonna have to duplicate it, but that's fine. Guys, duplicating things is the best thing you can do. Okay, so what it has, it kind of cut off our visual information a little bit, but that's okay. We can work with this. What I'm gonna do is just use the brush tool, remove our head here, and I'm just gonna gently try to taper this guy's tail down a little bit. And what I'm gonna do is just rotate it around. Okay, so we still have a bit more information that we haven't gotten rid of yet, but that's okay. And obviously this guy has a head for a panther. He should have a tail as well. I think that's only fair.
That was one of my biggest questions. I was wondering if we were going to bring the tail back.
I feel it. Don't worry, we're here. Okay. So it's telling me I need to rasterize this. Okay, no problem. Let's rasterize that. And what I'm gonna do is just sort of, look, already we have a lot more we've given to this guy. Oh, the sun is a bit bright on my end. Hopefully you can still see me, guys.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm good. Okay, so his tail is hanging down a little bit. You know, he's a bit confused. He's a bit worried. So his tail's not gonna be up. So we have this, and okay, so now we're like, we have a good sort of foundation. But I'm not feeling this sky too much. I think we could do better with this sky. I don't know about you guys, but we had a color palette. Let's stick to that palette a bit. So I'm just gonna hit a new layer over here above that first one I did, still here. And even this white one is kind of nice here, but what we're gonna do is just go back to our gradient tool over here. Where is it? Gradient. Ah, there you are. Next to the paint bucket. I'm just gonna go to that same preset we had, and I'm gonna go and look for something red. I'm about red or yellow, something like that. Okay, liking these. Okay, these are nice. I'm liking this one over here. This has got most of the color information that we wanted. So I'm just gonna use this, and looking at our, again, where's our palette again? Boom, okay, so maybe I want the top to be, I want the top to be red and then kind of going down into yellow. So I'm just gonna hit this, let's bring it all the way down here. And boom. See how much more vibrant and like put together this is looking already? Yeah. And depending on how far I sort of go down, that's kind of how deep the gradient goes. But I want this little orange section here to really be at the bottom of the desert. So I'm going all the way down. Omicron
said that they used that gradient last night. So it's awesome.
Yeah, great minds think alike, right?
Yeah, it's a great one.
So I just want to mess around a little bit more with where I want this palette is, where I want this gradient to be. I'm just gonna enlarge it a little bit and then bring it down a little bit. Oh, you see that? Now we're getting that nice bit of yellow at the top. But we're still getting, I'm just gonna play around a little more, see which one I like. Okay, so I want the gradient to kind of end down here.
What I like is that orange contrasting that green there. It looks really, really nice from the palms.
Exactly, yeah. So you're looking for harmony as much as you can in the piece. And so this is nice here. And guys, what we've done here is just assemble everything together. We haven't really even gone into fine-tuning how each of them is gonna look, but we have our base layers here. And so we're just gonna work a little bit more to blend things together, right? Maybe before I do that, I'm going to make sure I have one more tree here just to give it a bit of balance, you know, one tree, two trees to the right, two trees to the left, something like that. Okay, so I already have this information here. So maybe I want to use one that I haven't before. And I think this top one here, I haven't used it yet. So I'm just gonna take my lasso tool, just quickly carve out the parts that I want. A bit hard to do, but don't worry guys, still part of it. Okay, good. So Command J again. So what I always have this first image that I start with. So I never kind of leave it, and I'm always working with either a duplicate or something like that. So I can always go back to it and change it. Like I said, that's a big part of doing collage, is always be open to try something new. So, I mean, if anybody in the chat has some suggestions, maybe something they want to see in it, I think that would be really cool. See, you guys have some crazy ideas that I always end up loving more than mine.
Give us your ideas, chat. I'll be looking out in probably like a minute. We can try to incorporate them.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna bring this one up a little bit more. Like Alex, you said, that orange and green is just working right now for us.
Yeah. I think it's because those palms have that nice kind of yellow already on the tips, and so it seems to really fit.
Exactly. Just left, bottom. So, and now I'm just gonna group these. Holding Shift, I select all, and Command G, and just group it, or right click and hit Group Layers, just so we have everything nice and neat when we're going through it. Palms, I'm just gonna name this Palms. I'll put this one in Palms. For our deserts too, we're going to just group them as well. Make sure you're nice and organized. Because like I said, as someone that's unorganized, I really need organization in my design. Otherwise, it just gets a mess, you know? I'm sure y'all can relate to that.
There's nothing worse than having artboards and layers all named the same and then trying to communicate which things need to be moved around.
Exactly. I mean, one thing I still have trouble with is naming things. Oh my God, I can't come up with any name. Someone can come up with an app or something that just names everything for you. like in a smart way, I mean, I'll give you all my money for that.
Adobe's like, what? We named it layer 48 for you. What do you want?
What more do you want?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna label this man, just so we have all the elements that make up our main character. Call him Panther Man for now. Not very original, but stick with me, guys. Let's make sure his neck is there, his back is there as well. Okay, great. So now I have everything sort of nicely in. Put that in the checkerboard. Why not put it in a group as well? I'll just set this as stage. And so already I just have basically 4 or 5 elements that I've put together nicely in groups to just help us visualize how things are working. This one too, I just put it as sky. And I don't think we'll have time today, but if we did have time and we did import this Photoshop piece into After Effects, the amazing thing is that everything is kept from one program to the other. So yeah, all your files and everything is named perfectly, and it just helps with the ease of work, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now I'm gonna just bring it. Let's try bringing things together a little bit better. I'm just gonna go to our man, and what I want to do now is change the color of the head. It's just a bit too maybe faded, and I didn't get rid of this tail over here. Brush bigger. Okay, there we go. And you see this even on this. So I'm just working instead of how things come around to me. I'm looking at this scarf here, or this wrap thing, and I'm just not liking this little blank spot here. So what I'm gonna do is make sure I'm on the right one. I'll duplicate this just so I can keep the original. And I will rasterize it. And I'm doing this because I'm going to use the clone stamp tool, which is don't be afraid of it. I was for a long time, but it's really just an amazing tool, especially for quick things like this. I'm just gonna hit Alt to select my target, and boom. I mean, this isn't perfectly lined up with his pattern, but we can look. You see,
that's pretty good.
We can almost line that up, and then we see you have a little bit there. That's not, and look at that. I mean, awesome. within two clicks, we completely made that seamless, you know. So
have you used the content aware fill yet?
Yo, I heard crazy things about that. I'm not ready for it yet.
Okay, it's great. It will change your life, man. Yeah, absolutely.
I see something I need to put on the to-do list now. But I mean, I saw that they did some updates for the even in After Effects, the content aware fill. And it's crazy, like you can basically mask out and fill it with, and I mean, it's so smart. Yeah. This machine is mind-blowing for me, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
But for today, we're just doing things rough and dirty. What I want to do is now, what I did was I picked out this cool earring thing from our man over here, and I just want to make sure that is put on the ear of our panther. So I'm just going to select the lasso, just quickly select this here, and I'm going to hit Command J so that the earring is now sort of separate from this. And it didn't take my masking information, but that's okay, guys. We don't really need that right now. Make this a little bit bigger. We're just adding character, you know, we're adding little details. These little things, they really do make a difference in the overall piece. So I'm just gonna make sure, select this. Skip.
We've got about 20 minutes before we start doing our artist spotlight. So
okay, got you.
We have about an hour-ish left in the stream. A little bit less, 50 minutes.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so now I have just a little bit more visual interest going on with this guy's ring. I mean, this guy's earring. And that's just to kind of ground the whole piece together. And so now what I'm gonna do, let's make sure I name this earring. Masai back, I'll put Masai back so that I know that that's his back information. And let's just say I'm not feeling like maybe this section here. So what I was thinking was that he's kind of wearing this kind of cool shirt, but it's also got like a bit of breathing room at the back. So yeah, we're kind of just imagining how someone might survive in this strange planet, you know. Things aren't gonna work exactly like they do here on Earth, but he needs some breathing space because the desert's hot, guys, and you know, you need to breathe.
Makes sense. This is it's a combination of like the newest climate cool technology and business attire.
Exactly. So now I can't see his tail because the tail is underneath that layer. So I'm just gonna make sure the tail comes right somewhere around here. And what I could also do that I really like is, let's say I just move this around so that maybe his tail there's a bit more going on in that section of the tail. What I'm gonna do is this tool that I'm sure a lot of you guys know and love so much is the liquify tool.
Love the liquify tool.
It's so cool, honestly. And okay, what it's doing right now is just giving me the whole image, which is fine. I mean, we're not gonna use all of it, but let's see, show backdrop. Okay, cool. So now we can see our backdrop, and we can actually even select our layer. Is it? Okay, no. Let's make sure it's all layers. And it's really cool because you can even see where it is now. So what I'm gonna do is just take my brush and make sure it's kind of big as well. Pressure, density, those are fine, don't touch that. And just kind of move it around. What that's gonna do is just create more of a tail. So let's hit OK and see what we have here. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. I think because we still have our mask on this, it's giving us a little bit of a complicated thing, but we'll solve that right away. What I'm gonna do is just so I'm not doing anything drastic I'm gonna regret later, I'll just make a copy of that. And then I'm gonna hit, on clicking the mask, I'm gonna hit, okay, hold
on. Clever is asking, is the puppet warp good for the likes of tails? And yes, the puppet warp would be a great tool also for it.
Definitely.
Just so you can keep some of this stuff together.
Okay, I think I'm pushing my machine to its limits right now doing this.
Liquify is a pretty resource intensive process.
Definitely. It's not for the faint of computers. You have to have a beast with you. Unfortunately, I don't have a beast with me, but we'll make it work.
Do you want to try the puppet warp then? It might make it a little easier for you.
All right, let's do that.
Okay.
You're gonna have to teach me.
If you go to edit,
okay,
and then go down from there, you should have puppet warp right there.
See, I don't even touch these things, but look, I'm learning something new already. So
yeah, so whenever you click, so you got the two ends there, and then you can put however many joints you want in that. So wherever you want to place another joint, there you go.
This is so cool.
And then you click and drag those points and it will move for you. So you should be able to
Yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Guys, you see, I'm learning something new right here, you know. This is really cool. Okay,
now you'll be a tail master.
All right, so you see, we're giving a lot to this guy now. First, his tail is kind of like sad looking, but now we're giving it a bit more. And when you think about it in the whole grand scheme of the piece, you're kind of continuing these lines that you're creating, you know, like you're creating a leading line from this palm here going into our main character over here. And then even with his tail a little bit, it's leading you. So I think that's super dope. Thank you, whoever suggested the.
Yeah, that was clever. Thank you, Clever. Yeah,
clever,
and those
you are clever.
Those pinpoints that you put in those, you can change the radius and that has more effect on it and stuff. So if you did want to smooth it out later on, you could do that through that. And that works in Illustrator, Photoshop, and After Effects, kind of all in the same way.
See, I know about the puppet tool from After Effects, which is also super powerful. But now I know that I can also use it in the context of Photoshop. So what I did is that I just didn't like the angle too much. So what I did was just hold Command, and then that kind of allows you to stretch these borders around. Okay, so cool. Now we have pretty much a nice vibe going on. I think what I'm gonna do is maybe add a tiny little branch over here just for my eye's sake. You know, I like to keep things nice and not too symmetric. There is beauty in asymmetry, but to really make it feel balanced, let's say, what I'm gonna do is just duplicate this right one here and kind of mash it up a little bit as well, you know, kind of make it look different, you know, because when you're doing it with collage, you know, the main thing I find is that I like it when I can tell that this is the same image or something like that, you know. Yeah. Really try to push the boundaries of each asset you can. Because right now, look, guys, I'm only using about 10 assets, but I've managed to make different things out of, or different sort of variations out of them, which I think is important. So now we have our piece. I mean, when we look back at our color palette here, I think we did a pretty good job. I think we have most of the color information we want, but there's also depth to this piece. You know, we have our main character here, and he's at a point where he's sort of looking around like, what do I do? You know, you're asking that question from someone who watches this piece, like, what is this guy waiting for? What's he looking for? And why? And we know he's on a stage now, a checkerboard stage, and he's looking to his left, possibly already looked to his right. So he's looking for something. So we need to put something there for him to look out for. And I know we don't have much time, but I'm just gonna quickly go through these and let's see what I have here. Okay, so back to my Moroccan roots, you know, I found this beautiful archway. That was just like, wow. I mean, even the image on its own is beautiful. Oh. But what I'm gonna do is, where is it? Okay, make sure I hit enter to lock it in, drag it to the top, because it's not gonna be on top of everything, but I'm just trying to work with it right now. So what I'm gonna do is, I just want this outline here, and I'm sure
I would just use the object selection tool. So you've got just scroll, and see, just crop the arch. So treat it like the rectangle marquee tool. So you'll want to go from like the left point down to the bottom right point.
Got you, guys. I'm also learning here, you know.
No, that's what it's all about, man.
This isn't just a one-way street. Okay, I think I pushed it. I pushed my machine again.
Too far.
Abort. But
what can we do?
Okay, guys, I made a pretty big mistake, and I didn't save this. This is
good idea.
This is the one mistake that's gonna cost you. And so quickly, guys, I should have done this in the first 5 minutes. I'm just gonna make this collage, and don't be quick to go and hit OK, right? Just let's take a minute and read what they're saying. They're saying maximize compatibility. So what that means is that it's just making sure that if you do take this Photoshop file, which we would have if we had time, into another program, it's gonna keep everything nice and neat. So make sure that's clicked. I won't hit show because I need to know it, and hit OK. So now it's saving it, but it's saving it in a smart way for you. So, yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you?
If you do have like this, where your computer might be resource constrained, it is good sometimes to turn that off if you know that nobody with previous versions of Photoshop will be opening that file. So really what that file does is it allows, you know, CS3, CS4, older versions to work with it. But if you want to save disk space, you can turn off that setting, and it'll save you some resources.
Okay, so this object selection tool is amazing. I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
it's literally saved me about 10 minutes of going in and just painstakingly trying to select this with my above average pen skills. But what's
The
cool
great
is,
thing about that tool is it works really well with like cleaner backgrounds and stuff. Sometimes it can deal with some of the craziness, but like you have this image, it has kind of lower contrast in spots, which makes it a little harder to do.
yeah, I can see that. But honestly, it's done the job we need for right now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you another cool tip is if I were to hit select and mask, and let's just give it let's give it a second to sort of do it. This is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
for what I asked it for, and thanks for the tip, Alex.
Yeah, of course.
That object selection is amazing. I'm just gonna hit this. I always like to hit the shift edge just a little bit, just to take away those annoying little bits on the edge that we might not like. Just hit feather a little bit, smooth it out. And this is amazing. I mean, this is a lot already to work with. And what I'm gonna do is just hit that mask and boom, we have this. I mean, it's covering his face now, but check what I'm gonna do in a second. So what I'm gonna do is, where is this in the scene, you know? Where does this fit in? So I'm gonna make sure that, I wanna make this sort of a portal, because he seems to be in a bit of a situation right now. He needs
might be
to
wanting to get out of there.
Yeah, you understand? Like there's something he's looking at that he's not happy, and he's trying to get out of there. So I'm gonna put this archway right behind the desert, and boom, look what we have here. Like you have even more sort of a visual sort of element that's drawing your eye to the center. But we're not done yet, because that's a bit too boring for me. So what I'm gonna do is I want to put space, you know. I heard that you like space, don't you, Alex?
I like space. I like cats. I like deserts. I like all these things. You're
we're gonna be best
my
friends.
soul.
So what I'm gonna do is just this nebula that I found on Adobe stock. It's just beautiful. I mean,
Nice.
What I'm gonna do is holding shift kind of turns it in nice even degrees, which is good. I'm liking this little bit right here. So I have that here, but it's not what I wanted. I kind of wanted it in the archway.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm gonna do is either right click, go down and hit create clipping mask, or a quick way I like to work is just hold Alt, and in between the layers, the first and the one you want, you see this little thing when you hold Alt, yep. Boom, it does that for you. So that's like a nice quick tip. So already I'm liking this. This is great. But what I want to do is that I want to keep a little bit of those edges on the archway that we had.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, there's several ways to do this, but this is kind of the way that makes sense to me the most. I'm just going to hold Command and hit the nebula. And what that does is just kind of select it out. And I'm not sure if this is the way, but I'm going to find out in a second. Because what I want to do is just make the edges pop out a little bit more. So one way I guess I could do it is this is to, okay, let's see, let's click this archway. Okay.
What I might do would be to duplicate the arches and put one above the nebula and then mask out the inside of it. Is that what you're talking about? Keeping the frame of the arches and then having the nebula there? Okay,
yeah, I like that. I like that idea. But what I'm just gonna see if I can do this quickly is to just hit Command on this archway and go to select and then modify it. But what I want to do is just bring it in a few pixels.
Nice.
So let's see by 5 if that's gonna work. Let's do a bit more. And this might be a long way to work around the thing, but what I like about it is that it gives me a bit more of a fine tuning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit easier for me because but now I find myself getting into a bit of an issue where things don't exactly go the way I want to, but that's part of the process.
Absolutely.
So what I'm gonna do is just hit that inverse, and now what I'm gonna do is just create another mask on this and then invert it. So what that did was it just kept a little bit of those edges for me. I could probably go more, but I just wanted just a little bit of relief, you know, to the edges so that it makes it feel a bit more like a real object, you know, more something that exists in that plane. So you just have that nice bit of that edge, you know, this is what I wanted. And you could also do it the way Alex mentioned, in that you just put the arch on top of it and then kind of masks that out. Different ways to skin the can I even say that?
I think so.
I don't know how this guy is gonna feel about saying that, but
that's
yeah,
true. They'll probably leave the frame completely.
Okay, so we have this, and already, guys, I think this is a pretty good start. It has a lot of interesting things going on, but now I'm like, we've hidden our planet away. I mean, what happened to our planet over there? And no problem, guys, we're just gonna make him bigger. Oh no, smaller, bigger. But I want it to stay where it is. I don't know why it's not staying. Let me make sure. Usually it stays where I want it to. Yeah, okay, so make sure you're clicking the actual layer, not the group. And then just hold Alt and just scale this bad boy up. I just want it to go just underneath this arch point, this middle point, just because the arches also kind of help lead your eye up there. I could put it up here, but I don't think that's as interesting as leaving that little bit of space there. And what that does is also, so if you're just joining us right now, what I'm designing is basically a poster style surreal collage. And the beauty about picking this format, which is also amazing, by the way, for Instagram and all those kind of social media posts that kind of have everything in the phone format. But what it does is that you're cutting away the edges. You're giving importance to the staging or whatever is happening in front of you. And by laying things up in this kind of format, it gives a sense of larger than life, or it gives a sense of scale to these objects that having them in a landscape wouldn't do. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are ways to make things seem huge in landscape as well. But for me, I'm just sticking to this kind of poster format. And it really helps to sort of create these kind of nice scenes that are surreal or whatnot. So now we're gonna get into the bit of the nitty gritty, and we're gonna just sort of match the colors of our Panther man over here. I'm gonna see Panther head, and what I'm gonna do, a really good way to work with images is to just first of all turn it black and white.
There's so many surreal puns going on. People are like, it looks amazing, unreal. Seeing David create this was surreal. So
thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all for sticking with us so far. I mean, it's been fun. So putting things in black and white, you're just removing that color. You know, there's a lot happening right here. Don't get me wrong. So we want to just make sure that what we're working on is black and white, just so we can see the values, the blacks and whites, how things really fit in. And one of my favorite tools is both the levels and the curves. I'm gonna do levels right now, and I hold Alt when I click it, by the way, just so it already kind of clips it to this piece, saves you a little bit of time. So what I'm gonna do is just, it's a little too light for me, so I'm just gonna to scale these things until I find it at a vibe that I like. I'm gonna push this midpoint marker here. You see, now I'm liking these dark features on. By the way, guys, we're focused on his head right here, so don't forget that. And so watch this space. And I'm just gonna play around with the settings. Don't be afraid to just mess around with them. Okay, this is giving us nice detail, but I'm really liking the blacks when I push it this side. happens when okay, so this is nice. It's bringing that out to life a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is that after I've done that, this is just a simple place where I'm gonna take off the black and white adjustment that I did. And now what I want to do is make sure that it's matching nicely with his back. I kind of want it all to seem the same. And there are different ways to sort of tweak the colors. First of all, let's make sure we're on the right one. I want this guy that's got the back. Perfect. So again, black and white, just to see. Honestly, even sometimes putting it black and white can solve a lot of the issues that I was facing. Okay, so this is cool. I'm liking this. I'm just gonna stick to default. And what I'm gonna do is just make sure that those levels are matching. So.
And we're gonna get into the artist spotlight once we're done with this.
Okay, no problem.
Real quick.
Okay, cool. So look, already by sliding this, boom, look. You see, you're getting a lot more of you're putting them in the same world, you know? They weren't in the same world. They were two completely different images, but what we're doing is just sort of setting the values to be the same, you know? But we don't want to lose too much information from our original picture. We just want the blacks to match a little bit more. And so now watch this. When I remove the color, yeah, we have a little bit of a tinge of magenta on him, but the values are kind of similar.
Yeah, they are.
So before we go on to the artist spotlight, what I want to do is just quickly go to one of my absolute favorite tools, selective color. This thing is just an absolute monster of a tool because of how much control it gives you over these. What I'm going to do is just like, I'm noticing that there's too much magenta in his. Okay, that's a lot.
That's perfect.
But I'm just gonna see and just mess around and see if I can get the right vibe for this guy. And see if I move that. Okay, good. So I need a bit more blue in there. And you see, like now we're getting a lot closer. That it's not perfect, but look, this is just about a minute of messing around with it. You can really go into the neutrals, into the whites and all that stuff and really sort of fine tune all. And that just adds to the believability and the plausibility of your piece, you know? At the end of the day, you are trying to make the person question whether you just found this Panther man sitting there or you brought him together, you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what I would do just to show you a quick run through of what I'd go through for each and every step to make sure they all sync together nicely. So
we can come back to that.
We can come back to that
once we wrap up the artist spotlight. But right now, we're getting into the artist spotlight. How exciting! I'm excited.
This is awesome. I'm so excited.
Make sure, chat, if you want to participate in the artist spotlight, there is a tab up in the artist spotlight section where you can nominate yourself or fellow creatives to be spotlighted. But today we have Farah Manley, based out of Toronto, Ontario.
She's amazing.
Yeah, the work is insane. So we're going to tuck into it. Make sure that you give Farah all the likes, follow them on Behance, follow them on Instagram, follow them on all their links. They've got actually everything. They've got their YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter.
Shout out
Instagram.
Farah.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Farah is an architect by day, a digital content creator by night. She's a mom to her little Heston and enjoys creating fun, whimsical pieces and has experienced Photoshop for 17 plus years and counting. So that's crazy. That's a lot of years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We're going to tuck into the first one that she's got listed. Concrete could fly.
Whoa,
this is crazy.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I love how, like we were just talking about with the color selection and making sure that colors feel consistent throughout the piece. This is so consistent. The textures are incredible.
Yeah, and what I love is that is like it's almost so subtle. You can tell that Farah is really sort of very selective and careful about her choice. You know, it's quite like muted colors, but then she's having a bit of that blue in the sky pop, and she's giving us all these details. I'm assuming that's her son. That's amazing. Like,
Look at that.
I just love that. Like, and I love that she's sharing the process too. Like, she's being transparent. Like, that's so cool.
The whole video on it as well. That's crazy.
Wow, wow, wow. This is the kind of detail I need my hands to be on right now.
I love when you look at people's Behances and you're just like, wow, I need to do more of that. Like, that's just
exactly.
I mean, look at all the detail even on this piece with all the reflections of the lily pads on the water.
That's not easy work, guys. That's dedication right there to making sure we get that wow, you know, when we see the picture. Like, and I saw also another really cool piece of like skeleton with flowers and stuff coming out. That was
Halloween
my
2020.
I mean, guys, look at this.
Wow.
This is so cool.
Even the detail of just showing like the skull in the hair, like an X-ray almost, is pretty amazing. Man.
Yeah, I love skulls, roses, animals, butterflies. And I even love the little skull in the belly. Like, I don't know how it ended up there, but you don't want to ask.
It's true. Yeah, it's crazy.
Really, really cool.
The color coding on all the assets is incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. And she's showing what they look like before, so that, you know, it isn't just simply putting it in there.
Yeah. And pro tip for you creatives at home: if you do this where you add a bunch of noise into your images, it's a really good way of making them all feel consistent in texture. Obviously, there's a lot of other work going on, but this is a good tip if you're trying to do compilations at home. Let's jump into NX Baby.
Wow.
Lots of hearts.
And I see that, I think she's using herself as the subject in the first one as well, the other one. That's amazing. I mean, that's really, and she's creating memories, you know, like her kid's gonna see this and be like, wow, my mom is cool, you know.
Seriously.
And I love that she's telling stories with these, you know. It's not just something pretty, she's sending a message. And I'm sure she could explain it better than we could, but
I'm looking at these assets and I'm over here. It looks like looks like the arms and legs are cut off on this person.
Yeah.
So maybe she even had to like redraw it.
It looks like it's from a different person, right? The legs.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn my lamp on quickly.
Adobe Live. Oh, she was on Adobe. That's awesome.
Oh, nice. Shout out to Adobe. Oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I wish I could see giant goldfish when I look out.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Ghost in the Shell a little bit, where like the 3D like billboards going around.
I love that film. And the anime. I mean, the anime is even better, some would say.
Just pieces after pieces, man, of just incredible work.
Wow. I am sort of blown away by her piece. I checked her out before we did it, but really sort of studying it, I think it's so amazing how personal she is as well with her art. Like this is her family she's using, but like recontextualizing it into these
Farah's actually in chat, and Farah, nice. your work is absolutely incredible.
Big fan here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
These are so cool. I wish I could like have all these images of me as a kid, you know, like
amazing.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, and I'm sure when her kid sees this, like it just like sparks the imagination, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness. So cute. Oh my goodness.
That's amazing. And the lighting, her attention to lighting and how it affects each of the subjects is very well thought through. It's like, you got to give respect to that.
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
And the little like snow flying in the air, like all those things, like with the moon at the top. Like this is really, really, really good work.
Yeah, this is exceptional. Thank you for letting us share your incredible talent with the world, because this is, yeah,
So
it's
cool.
amazing. Load.
Oh, pelican. I saw a pelican live in person. I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
And they're scary to look at. I mean, they're like you don't want to mess with the pelican. Like they've got these like bloodshot eyes. Like they're so red. Like, and when you see it feeding time, like you should definitely, if you ever do manage to, I don't know how, but find yourself in front of a pelican, like watching it feed and sort of like stick its beak over its neck, so that it's kind of, its neck is stretching out its mouth. I mean, like that's evolution on steroids. I don't know.
I love this. Look at this, the behind the scenes photo.
Oh my.
You're a legend. So yeah, she says she does time lapses. I think that's what these are all. Just don't want to get like DMCA'd. So, but everybody in chat can go there and check it out. Definitely go give her likes, follows, appreciations. I'm giving you a follow right now. Incredible work. Incredible.
I'm gonna do that as well.
Yeah, just bonkers talent. Really inspiring stuff to see. So thank you so much for letting us share your work. You're incredibly talented.
Thank you, Farah.
Yeah, and now we're able to go back into color grading. I'm really excited to see kind of where we can get wrapped up. I know we have about 14 minutes left, so we can put the final touches on this.
All right. I mean, so far, I'm really happy with what we have. But like, you know, after just seeing Farah's amazing work, I feel like we need to add a bit more of that atmosphere, you know, that she nails in all her pieces. What I'm going to do is just quickly find some, boom, clouds. I mean, nothing says atmosphere more than clouds. Again, unfortunately, we have our good old JPEG here. What I'm going to do is just quickly pick out this. Okay, it's not picking out for me, no problem. I'm just going to mask this out. And then this is quick, rough and dirty, guys. I'm just going to take my brush, make it big, turn the hardness, make it a really soft brush, because we're dealing with clouds, and clouds are typically soft. What I'm going to do is just get this edge off. And even by getting it off, I'm adding even more of a mist cloud vibe.
Yeah.
Do this with very little effort, you know? And so that's one way to, you know, sort of give yourself a bit of a helping hand. And already, boom, look, this feels like clouds that live in there. So I'm just gonna go down, make sure it's above my desert, because I want my deserts to kind of have this cloudy vibe. Let's make that, because now this piece needs atmosphere. We need to feel like this piece is alive and moving. So I'm just gonna make this opacity all the way down. This is giving this bit of that cloud vibe, but what I'm gonna do now is play with the blending modes.
I find clouds so challenging to deal with, and you just take so much time to finesse them to get you that. You want it to be thick, but you don't want it to be too thick. It needs to be, it's tough.
Clouds are tough, don't get me wrong. And they're real masters of clouds, you know what I mean? Like people who make this stuff happen. But what I'm gonna do is, like, already this pin light is giving me a bit more of this atmosphere, foggy vibe I like. So a lot of the time I find myself in Photoshop just experimenting. That, I think, is the most fun with the thing, is you experiment and new things come about that you didn't really expect to happen, but that's the beauty of it. And I'm just gonna duplicate these clouds and make sure they are below our purple. Sorry. I'm just gonna make sure that these clouds I copied are behind that, but on our blue cloud. Okay, perfect. So you see what they're doing is just doing a little bit more, deserts are dusty and stuff. We don't have time to put all of these things, but it's just you're sort of changing the subconscious feeling when you look at this piece. It's not something that someone might notice or be able to claim that that's happening over there, but they'll feel it, and that's just about as important. I'm just gonna name these Atmos Blue. I know that's it, and this one Atmos Purple.
Like you're saying, this really does impact you on like a subconscious level, because humans have been like we've been since caveman times, like literally just looking at the natural environment, so it's just ingrained in us. And if you can do these little textures or decreasing saturation on things at certain levels or distances, it becomes more relatable. So as you're kind of building these scenes out, remember to incorporate those so it feels more natural.
100%. And that's like I really like the way you put that, because that's also another reason why when we see something that's not right, we know it's not right.
We can't put your finger on it.
Exactly. You can't even say why it's not right, but you just have that feeling. Yeah. So we're just trying to tap into that feeling. But instead of like picking out what's wrong, we're looking for how we can make it better without really noticing. So I'm just fixing the tail just a little bit, make it seem like all these colors from his head all the way down to his tail sort of are in the same space. If I had a bit more time, I'd work a little more on his back, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to go through this quickly. What I'm going to do right now is arch, just make sure I'm labeling all these, and these palms, I just want to push that blending thing just a little bit more so I can get rid of those harsh white edges. I know they were nice, but they are a little distracting now, and that's okay. Like, you just have to be ready to make decisions that might hurt you a little bit, but it's okay. It's for the
Ferry's like, I love how David is playing around with all these pictures and making a great piece. So yeah, I think that's what is so magical about your work, is that it takes such talent, but also patience to kind of build the compositions that you've built. And I would probably get way too frustrated trying to do it. So
honestly, yeah, I really appreciate that, Farah. I mean, coming from you, that means a lot. I think obviously it's patience. I'm just kind of going through this quickly to show you sort of how I'm thinking. I'm not necessarily a guru at this. I'm just showing you how I'm thinking and sort of the ideas or questions I ask myself when I'm making these pieces. So what I'm going to do is just switch up the color of this nebula a little bit. It's a bit too strong for me. I'm going to hit this hue and saturation. I love it so much. It's so quick and easy to switch things around. And what I'm trying to do is just find the right color that really speaks to me. So to go through all these. Could make it red, but I think I'm going to stick with the same color here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a little bit desaturated. It's a bit too saturated for me.
Yeah. And if you have any more questions for David, we have about like 7 minutes. So make sure you get your questions in so we can answer them real quick.
7 minutes. Okay, no problem.
But JP says, organization, love the time you're taking to get everything on point. Naming organizations, layers can be boring, but they appreciate it. So good job. And I, as a disorganized creative, also really appreciate the effort you've put into naming everything.
Thank you. Honestly, this is a lesson for me as much as it is for everyone else, because I don't practice what I preach all the time. I'll be honest with you, but I was like, if I'm gonna be on live, I'm gonna make sure I look as organized as possible, guys.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Okay, so I kind of left out my good old buddy here, this desert here, and I don't really like leaving out anybody in this. So what I'm gonna do is just lift this up so that
Nice.
just giving a bit more of the, I don't know how you could say it, a bit more weight, or just filling up the space a little bit more. So now we've got all our elements, they looking nice, and they're all singing to each other. And so now you just want to move things around just so you're not too set on something. You know what I mean? You're not too set on something. It's like liking this. I want to make sure the blue is there. So what this kind of means, the whole idea of the piece is that you have a man that has a question on his mind. What am I gonna do? And we, if you saw from the beginning, we saw how we brought just from one idea of a man with his arms on his hips. You can ask yourself, what could I do with that? How could that serve the piece? And when you ask yourself these questions, you find yourself fleshing out the story for yourself, or fleshing out the concept for the piece. I think the arch was a little too big for me, so I'm just going to reduce it a little bit. And what I like is that the arch, if I had a bit more time, what I would do is just create more of a contrast between the panther's head and the arch, just so that the panther's head is the main focus. But because of a lack of time, I'm just going to make sure that this is just a little bit more like that. Okay, that's fine.
Kay asked, who's your favorite artist that inspires your pieces the most?
Definitely one of my absolute favorite artists has to be Jean-Giraud Mobius. Like, I don't know if I can pull up his work quickly. He is one of the coolest. He unfortunately passed away not too long ago, but this French illustrator, and I think his work is just stunning. I mean, like, when you see it, you can tell sort of where I get those inspirations. He's also a big lover of Mobius, of deserts, and Jimi Hendrix, which is one of my favorite people that ever lived. And so it's really cool how someone like him, who I've never met Mobius in my life, nor did he know I exist, but we shared so many sort of similarities, and I would say he's number one. I'm a big fan of this Japanese artist, Hiroshi Nagai. He also does kind of colorful, minimalist, surreal paintings. So that's another guy I like a lot. And I just try to pick the best things I like about each of these artists. And okay, so now I'm just looking at the piece now, and I think it has everything sort of what I need, but I'm just gonna add one more thing that I feel could just take it a bit to the next level. Looking for my cloud. Okay, Atmos purple. I'm just gonna duplicate that, put that inside the desert. And this time I'm not gonna go for fog. I want actual clouds. So I'm gonna remove this blending, put it back to normal, take my opacity back to 100, let's keep it fill at 85. I know you can mess around with the opacity, but this is fine. So what I'm gonna do is just put this behind everything else. And what you're gonna see in a second is how it all comes together. And I'm just gonna put that all the way at the top.
Oh, that's nice.
So what it's gonna do is just give you more of that fog vibe, but extending it into the background, which I really like. Okay, it looks like I may have moved the wrong thing, but it's okay. For the sake of time, I'm just going to quickly show you this. And what that does is just add a bit more of a visual interest, or add a bit more of the mist, kind of create this world. Like, it's not exactly flat. There has to be stuff moving around. So after all this is done, I'm kind of liking how this piece is going already. There are a lot of sort of, I mean, color-wise, it's pleasing to me, and there's depth to the piece. You see the planet at the back. You have the sort of trees coming in from the side and filling in this empty space. Yeah. And then you have the archway in front of the planet, but above, like standing tall. So it gives the illusion that this archway is massive, or this portal is massive, or almost as big as this planet. Not really, but. And then coming from that, you go through the deserts and you go through the blue desert and the purple desert before you come to the checkerboard, which is the main stage our man is at. And then, so, you know, it didn't take, it took, let's say 10 assets or 10 stock assets. But what we did with them is create a lot of depth and layering to this piece. And it's unfortunate that we don't have time to take this into After Effects, but what you're gonna notice is that you even extend that illusion of depth.
Yeah.
In a sense that you're gonna bring everything into a 3D or a full 2.5D world where everything is flat, but you're laying them at different distances to the screen. So
yeah, I agree. We have to wrap in like 2 seconds. Yeah.
All right, we have to wrap in a minute. Okay, this checkerboard is a bit too contrasty for me, so what I'm gonna do is just put in this and just give it more of a vibe. 1 minute.
So as we're kind of wrapping up, I know we need to say goodbye in a second, but Harjeev wants to know, where can we see your artwork at? Do you have any upcoming art shows? Can you tell us what's going on with what's next for you, essentially? How can we find you? What are your social channels? All that good stuff.
Okay, so thank you, Harji, for that question. Love you, bro. I think you can find me on anything /David Alabo. That's David Alabo. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram. I tweet a lot on Twitter if you want to just hear me ramble about stuff, and on Instagram as well. And what I'm doing now, actually, maybe I'm not allowed to say, but I do have an exhibition in Lagos, Nigeria, coming up in November. And I've been meaning to go to Lagos for about 2 years now, you know, because I do want to sort of break into that market over there as an artist. So I'm really excited to show something that's going to be sort of groundbreaking, melding all my sort of mediums, 3D, you know, illustration, graphic design, and everything. So yeah, catch me on the socials. I'll shout you out.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming out, and we'll see you soon, David.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
What is it when you rock and rollers? You can perform for 1,000 people and you can't be honest with one.